All right, YouTube, back in the shop today. I got some wood from a friend of mine. I just got to the point I'm sick of swinging them all. I watch these guys on YouTube. They're called Fab Rats. I noticed he had this rotary log splitter that he's got hooked to a motor and all sorts of cool stuff. So I started researching them. I decided to make one. So I got to build this cart today. This is going to be the base for, or the table, cart, whatever you want to call it, for my log splitter, my rotary log splitter. There'll be an electric motor down in here. It'll run off a pulley, and then I got the rotary part up here. I got some lawnmower wheels that I scavenged off my lawnmower, an old lawnmower I'm going to put on here so I can roll this thing around. Show you what I got built so far. So this is my rotary part. It's a threaded cone. I bought this off of Amazon. It was like 130 bucks. If I had a lathe, I probably would have just made it. I don't have a lathe currently. I am a machinist by trade, so machinist welder, so I would have normally made that, but I don't have a lathe. So the shaft here, I had this made from a guy that I work with. He has a lathe at his house. He built this for me. It's 1 1/4 inch. These are 1 1/4 inch pillow blocks. Got an 1 1/4 inch shaft. I've had him put some flats on here, so if this thing gets bound up, I can back it out. This pulley I had off an old air compressor. I had him build the shaft, this 1 1/4 inch down to 3/4 down in here. It does have a keyway, but I did have him drill and tap a hole in the end so I could put that core 20 bolt in there to just give me a little more stability. But essentially, the belt will go around here down to my electric motor on the bottom. The electric motor I got is also off old air compressor I had. It's 220. I got it wired up. This will be my on-off switch here. Belt will run off of that end of it. So I'll get to building this cart, kind of show you guys what I got going on as I'm building it. Hopefully it works. We'll see in the end. I'm a little afraid that there might not be enough tension on this belt to actually keep the belt from spinning. So we'll see. I might have to build some kind of tensioner. The ones online I see have dual belts, so hopefully there's enough friction in that belt to actually turn this thing and not get bound up on the wood when I'm splitting it. So we'll see what happens. You can see I got a big giant mess here from all the wood that I split. It was kind of cold out, so I split everything in the shop. Been trying to burn off all this bark in my wood stove. So we'll get to this. I'll show you guys what I got going on later. All right, YouTube, so I got back to this. Cut all my legs. This table's about 3 foot tall. What did I make it? 30 by 2. It's 30 long, 2 foot wide. What I did here, I got some 1/8 inch angle iron. Let's see if I can find a better spot. So I just kind of overlap this edge to here. This gives me a good spot to tie my leg into. This is all 1.5 inch angle, 1/8 inch, 1.5 inch, 1/8 inch thick angle. This is 1/8 inch square tube on this upper section. So I 45'd these corners just so I didn't have a spot where I could run my knee into it. I did overlap them this way just to get more structure out of this angle iron. What else did I do here? So I left this one. This one's in 1.5 inches because this is the bottom of the table here. It'll be flipped over. I left this in so that you had a little bit of extra room for your knees. When you're standing next to the table, you're not whacking your knee on it there. Because if I put it on the outside, it'd be another 1.5 inches out. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I got everything kind of just tacked together. One thing I will tell you, I don't have a welding table, so I'm doing everything on my shop floor. It's relatively flat for the most part. But when I did this, so I built my tabletop, flipped it upside down on the floor, tacked everything together, then I pulled corner from here to there, there to there, squared it up, then I tacked these legs in, then I tacked all this in just with one tack, and then what I did, I pulled corner from here to here, and here to here on the sides to square the whole table up, the legs to the base that's already square. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna weld this thing all together, flip it over. I got a piece of, I'm gonna have to put some tubes in up here where my actual cone is gonna sit and my pillow blocks. I think I'm gonna raise it up a little bit, probably 1.5 inches. I'll probably cut some of this, put it across the top so that cone is sitting up off the table. a few inches. So I'll get this welded out, get it flipped over. Oh, one thing I did want to show you too. So I got these wheels that are I'm gonna end up cutting this off. I'm gonna mount these wheels right here. I put these out so it's kind of like little fenders. I just thought it looked kind of cool. So that's kind of the reason I did that, and it gives me a little more structure to these corners where the angle iron is tied in two different sides of the square. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll get this thing welded out, flipped over, start mounting the, probably go with the cone first, get all the pillow blocks and that all figured out, get my motor mounted, and then I'll probably mount the wheels last. I haven't quite decided if I wanted to put them on yet. It'll be nice in my shop to be able to push it around because I'm not going to leave this thing outside. It's going to stay inside so I can split kindling and stuff. Like I said, I'm just kind of sick of swinging an axe and a maul. So that's what we're going to kind of do once the wheels are on it. Like I said, it'll be pretty easy to move it around my shop wherever I need it. All right, YouTube, back to this. Wanted to kind of show you the progress I got going on here. So I got the frame together. It's all welded out. I got my pillow blocks mounted, my pulley, my cone. I got my belt sitting on here. I was trying to figure out this electric motor part. But it spins, you can see what's going to happen. The belt's going to drive the pulley. It's going to drive this cone. Push your log on here. It'll go down the cone, split the wood. Working on mounting my electric motor right now. This is off of an old air compressor that I had. Actually, my tank rusted out on my air compressor. I traded some guy some work. He gave me an air compressor that had this setup on it. The motor was iffy at best. It was knocking every time when you turn it on, it would just knock. So I pulled everything off. I used the tank on my air compressor. And then I took my old tank and I made that wood stove. I keep saying I'm gonna do a video on that and post it online. I'll get to it. It's just cool, I think, because it's like air compressor tank, but it's actually my wood stove. So I'll get to that one of these days. But I did want to show you what I was doing here. Trying to line up my belt to my electric motor, the pulleys, so the belt isn't one way or the other. What I essentially did is I measured from here to the side of the belt, and then this square tube is lined up with it. So I measured from the front of this tube to where it's going to hit my pulley here, so I know where my motor's got to sit this way so the belt is in line. I'm going to make a bracket off the side here. My motor is going to mount about somewhere in there, I think. And the way I'm going to get tension on my motor is these are slotted. So when I build my bracket up here, my motor will actually hang on those bolts. So the weight of the motor will pull down on this belt. That should give me enough tension to make this thing spin. I'm going to build it out of this. I have this just laying around. It was off another job, a trailer that I did. That was a little bit of a remnant that was left over. It's 4-inch C-channel. I'm going to take and cut 4 inches off and weld another piece down here. So I have 8 inches because my motor, the spacing on it is about 7. That'll be good because it'll give me good rigidity this way. Because when it's mounted there, the motor will sit here, and I'll have all this and another one down here that'll mount into the side of that framework. Once I get it all cut up and tacked in there, I'll add to this video and show you what it's going to look like, and hopefully it's enough tension with the weight of that motor to keep tension on that belt. So I'll let you guys know what it looks like when I get it done. All right, YouTube, this is what I got going on. Took me a little bit to figure out how I was going to mount this motor. My original plan was, let me get you from this angle, to make this mount flush on this surface. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to, imagine that. When I measured from here out to my pulley and from here out to the side of this belt, I mismeasured. I messed up, plain and simple, but I did fix it. Like I said, this was originally gonna mount to here, so didn't work out that way, so I just added this tube. I've mounted my 2 pieces of channel to it. These 2 bolts were hitting the tube, so I cut them off. I'm probably gonna cut these 2 off too, just so they look a little better. They're a little extremely long. I don't know if you can see that or not, but these ones back here are way long. Cut these ones off. 2 tip when you're doing that, screw the bolt, sorry, not the bolt, the nut on first, cut it off, grind it smooth, then back the nut out. It just helps your thread stay. This is all just tacked and just barely tightened together. As you can see, I got my slots, so the weight of my motor is falling down, which is keeping my tension on my belt. I got this thing plugged in. I'll kick it on for you guys. It's just temporarily wired. I got it just on a light switch here. It's just a toggle. It is, like I said, it's 220. It's off an air compressor, so kick that bad boy on, and she spins pretty fast. I'm hoping that'll help split the wood quicker. We'll see what happens. It's super sketchy. I love it. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the sketchier the better. This thing gets tacked together and it's spinning pretty true, so I'm gonna show you from this angle. And the motor isn't even tight right now. It's just hanging there. So it seems to be pushing it pretty good. We'll see what happens when I put some wood on it. So we'll see. It's spinning, so that's a good sign. We'll see if that motor is strong enough to not bind up when I put a log on it. Like I said before, on my shaft I have these flats cut right here, so if it does bind up, I can put a wrench on it and turn it backwards to get the wood back off the cone there. So we'll see. I'm gonna weld this out a little bit more, and I'm gonna put a few more braces in here. Then I got a piece of, I think it's 3/16 or 1/4 inch that I had laying around. I'm gonna throw up there. We'll see. I might do that. I got another piece of 16 gauge too. Putting up braces, a 16 gauge will probably work. But I'd like to do that sheet I have, but it is a little warped, and I got it for free. So most of this I've kind of scavenged. I did buy the cone, the pillow blocks. I had the shaft made from a buddy. The motor I got for free. The pulleys, the belts, I got all that for free too. The switch I did have to buy, and then some of this metal, some of it I had laying around, some of it I did have to buy. All right, YouTube, we're back on this today. I had to stop last night. We had to go look at some stuff that we saw on Craigslist that we thought we could use. It ended up not panning out, but I am back on this today. Let's see, what have I done since I started? So I added 2 more braces under here, just for extra support. This looks really bad, I know. It's what I have. It's laying around. I got it at an old tire shop that I used to work at. It was a giant, I think it was like 12 by, I don't know, 4 foot piece of 3/16 that's been on top of this car lift for years. They were gonna throw it away, and I'm like, I'll take it home. As you can see, I had to clamp this. This thing is wowied like all over the place. And I don't think there's a flat spot on this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's pretty bent. So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna tack probably these corners, and then I'll just go down the side, clamp it, and just tacking it around here. I'll probably do stitch welds, like 2 inches of weld, maybe a gap, 2 inches of weld, all the way around this just to get this on here. I did get my wiring all done, got my motor mounted. Ended up putting the second brace. I used 2 pieces of channel iron welded together so I could get some gap for my bolt. Then I ran my wire down around the outside to this switch. It's just a light switch, on off. Put it on the front in case the log gets stuck on it. I've tried it a few times without this top on it. It does work pretty good when you get like a fairly green log. It will kind of stop and it'll spin on the belt. So I got emergency kill right there. So if it's running, you can just turn it right off. It does do a pretty good job though. For considering it's just a little bit of metal and some scrap parts I had laying around. Yeah, so we're gonna do that. I'm gonna get this tabletop clamped down the best I can and weld it up. Like I said, it's what I got to use, so I'm gonna use it. It's been kicking around in my shop for, I don't know, 10 plus years probably. So I'm probably gonna use it, even though, like I said, it is wavy and bent and warped. But this is kind of a good scenario for it. This thing's just for splitting wood, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, I got this tabletop welded down the best I could. Like I said, it's pretty warped and bent, but we're gonna give it a shot. big knot in this one. Really big knot. Oh boy. This isn't the best piece of wood to be doing this with, that's where it gets sketchy. I do like that this wheel is back here. It makes it really easy to undo that. I actually put flats on it for a wrench, but I think it's pretty good for that. I'm determined to get through that knot. It's a big one. Totally kicked my belt right off there. And I think I bent my tube. Pretty good knot it went through though. See a flaw. You see how the wood got jammed underneath here? I think I need a wedge right there. So as it goes on, hits that wedge, it should push it to either side. Because yeah, it totally went under here and it started lifting my shaft. I actually started moving this tube, this main tube. Doesn't look like it bent it just flexed it for a minute. Kicked my belt off. All right, here we go. So I had a little engineering malfunction, I guess you could say. I didn't have this in here. This is pretty lightweight box tube. It's like, I think it's 083 wall, I believe it is, or 082, something like that. It's not real thick. Like I said, this plate is warped all to hell. So what happened was I didn't have this wedge in here and the log went under it and it kept sucking it in, and what it did, it bent this tube right here, just bent this whole shaft up. So after realizing what it had done, it actually kicked the belt off, tweaked this all, so I kind of had to regroup. So what I did, I found I had this. It's a piece of 1/8 wall, same 1.5 inch, but it's 1/8 wall. I put it in there. I sucked this back down, and then, oh wow, I'm gonna have to fix that. My lock washer was the wrong size. It spread open on itself. But anyway, so I put this tube in here, welded it in, then I sucked that tube back down, and that straightened my shaft back out this way. Then I built this. This is just 10 gauge. It's just, I sharpened this kind of into a point. It's not like a razor edge, but it's fairly sharp. So as the wood feeds on here, it hits that and it pushes it open. That way the wood can't get jammed underneath this. You can see this, there is a little bit of slop in this. I bought this, I didn't build this. So there is just a little bit of slop. But without this wedge, the wood would get stuck under here and it would just kept pushing, and it just finally bent this tube. So I put that wedge in there. Now this thing works really good. So you can kind of see how warped that table is. That was just, like I said, a piece of scrap I had laying around. It was bent all to crud when I put it on there. So I straightened it out the best I could. Like I said, it's a log splitter. I'm not super concerned about it. But that's what I did. I just made this little hook. I got like a little mini Hausfeld bender. I just bent that just so I have somewhere to hang my wire. Like I said, this thing runs on 220, so I just wanted somewhere to hang my wire. I also did the same thing on my metal roll. So yeah, now I just got to put I got to do wheels on the bottom. I'm gonna put wheels back here. And then I'm probably gonna put some kind of little handle in here so I can pick it up and pull this thing, move it around my shop wherever I need it. I'll probably do that tomorrow. I'm getting a little burnt out, it's getting kind of late. So then I'll just paint it. I'll disassemble everything, paint it. I got some gray paint that I'm gonna paint it with. So if anyone wants to know what kind of paint I'm using, I love this stuff. It's Rust-Oleum 2X. It is awesome. It's a primer and paint in one, so just clean it up and you spray like literally one coat and it lasts forever. I've done a lot of handrails and stuff for my dad's house, and I literally put one coat on it and it's been on there almost 10 years now. So it's really good stuff. It paints really easy. Most spray cans, like you got coat after coat after coat. That stuff, like 1 or 2 coats and you are done. It's really good stuff. So if anyone wonders what I'm using, that's what I'm using. I actually had to stop a little bit earlier today. I had a guy from work that needed some welding done, so he brought up some stuff off his snow plow for his 4-wheeler. I got that all welded up for him. It took me about an hour, so that took a little bit of time away from this. But other than that, I'll get back to you guys once I get the wheels mounted on there. Still trying to figure out how to do that. This is what I got. I pulled them off my broken down lawnmower that I have. I'm gonna try to make these work. You can see it was a front drive lawnmower. These were the front wheels off of it. The teeth were starting to get a little hammered, so this thing wasn't working real great. The motor stopped working, so I didn't want to put any money into it, so I just took it apart. I used the rear wheels on my barbecue, made a new axle for that, and put those on my barbecue because we live out in the prairie. It's pretty rocky and bumpy around here. Moving it around was just pain with the lawnmower wheels, so I upgraded. So I'm going to use the front ones on this. I'll get back to you guys when I get that all done, get it all painted and everything. All right, YouTube. I got this done really late the other day. Sat out in my shop and paint dried. I finally put everything back together. I just kind of wanted to show you what I did. So I added this bar. The reason I did that is as I was pushing logs on this way, had a tendency to fall towards this pulley. I didn't want the log getting like tied up in there. It was a piece I had bent. It's been sitting out in my yard for, I don't know, a couple years. So I cut that off. Me and my son put these plates on, put the tube on, just to keep the wood from getting into there. Here's the other thing I did that I didn't really show you guys. So I added these wheels. They were off the front of my lawnmower. They're pretty awesome because they're adjustable. So when you go down all the way, the good thing about it is it adds another 4 inches off the back of this, so it doesn't want to tip so bad when you push the logs on. So as you're pushing the logs on this way, it doesn't want to tip over as bad because it's got another 4 inches past there. Here's the other thing I did. So I added this, I made this T-handle, just a piece of pipe. I bent this on my Hausfeld bender. It's like a little mini Hausfeld bender. It's like Harbor Freight version. I traded some work for it. So I bent that little piece 1/4 inch. It's just 1/4 inch round. Holds the handle. This is a little loose here, but it's just literally storage for my handle. What the handle does is I put it in here. Sorry. I don't know if I can do this one-handed. Maybe not. We'll see if that works. So it's just a pin. Then I got this T-handle. The reason I did that is so when you lift these, you pull them, it's just like a lawnmower. It adjusts the height of your lawn. I actually pulled them off a lawnmower. So it lifts that up so that this is off the ground. Let's see if I can get there. Whoop, sorry. Puts a gap underneath here. It lifts it up so that when I put this handle in, I can push this thing around. As you can see, I'm pushing it around my shop. Moves super easy, being lawnmower wheels. Like, I thought it was gonna be a little tough, but it works really well. The good thing about it is, like I said, with mounting them off the back of this back tube, it actually gave me another, like, I think it's 4 inches, where it actually stabilizes this thing. So when I'm pushing wood on it, it really helps this thing from tipping over. You can see it's off the ground there. Hopefully you can see it sits flat on the ground there. So it not only has this tube, but it has this triangle coming back where this, I think it's, I don't even know what it is. I think it's 4 by, might be 3.5 by 4. This plate here, where my lawnmower wheels bolt on, puts that flat on the ground, so I get this extra stability back here, where this thing doesn't want to like tip over when I'm pushing a log on it. Oh, they work really good. I was a little surprised at first when I put them on there. I'm like, oh, it's a lawnmower. It won't work that well. But it lifts it just enough to where it makes it awesome. The other thing I did, I added this, same thing, used my little Harbor Freight Haas felt bender. I put this little hook on here just for my wire to hang on. But it works very well. We'll plug this thing in. It's all 220. Pull this out. I'll try to get a video of. I made this handle removable. The reason I made it removable is so when I'm pushing the logs on, that handle isn't here between my belly and this top of this plate. That way I can get out and I can actually push the log onto this cone pretty easily. I'm actually contemplating putting a pivot over here and a piece of pipe so my hand doesn't come too close to this thing when it's spinning, because it spins pretty good. When it actually engages into the wood splits off there fairly slow, so it's good, but it does spin pretty quick. I mean, if it grabbed a glove, it'd rip you right in there. So I'm going to try to set you up on a stand here, and I'm going to try to split a piece of wood, show you how well this thing works. All right, we're going to kick this thing on. It's a pretty dense piece of wood. We'll see if it splits it. It does have a tendency, if the wood's like really stringy, to kind of lock up. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, the good thing about it is, you could see as I was splitting that, I just kept going smaller and smaller. It'll make kindling, like, I mean, some of this stuff is super small. So starting a fire, you can split all the way down the kindling to like big giant logs. Just kind of pick away at the big logs, kind of turn it as you're rotating it. Works great.